Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Narrated Abu Musa radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Once the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked for a tumbler containing water. He washed his hand and face in it and also threw a mouthful of water in it. Narrated Abdullah bin Zaid radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Once Allah's Apostle came to us and we brought out water for him in a brass pot. He performed ablution, thus he washed his face thrice and his forearm to the elbow twice, then passed his wet hand lightly over the head from front to rear and brought them to front again and washed his feet up to the ankles. Narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, when the ailments of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam become aggravated and his disease becomes severe, he asked his wives to permit him to be nurse treated in my house. So they gave him the permission. Then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to my house with the support of two men, and his legs were dragging on the ground between Abbas and the other man. Ubaidullah, the sub-narrator, said, I informed Abdullah bin Abbas of what? Aisha said, Ibn Abbas said, do you know who was the other man? He replied in the negative. Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala said, he was Ali bin Ibn Talib. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala further said, when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to my house and his sickness became aggravated and he ordered us to pour 7 sinks full of water on him so that he might give some advice to the people. So he was seated in the mikdab, brass tub, belonging to Hafsa radiallahu ta'ala anha, the wife of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then all of us started pouring water on him from the water skins till he beckoned to us to stop, and that we have done what he wanted us to do. After that, he went out to the people. Narrated Amr bin Yahya radiallahu ta'ala anhu, on the authority of his father, my uncle used to perform ablution extravagantly. And once he asked Abdullah bin Zaid radiallahu ta'ala anhu to tell him how he had seen the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam performing ablution. He asked for an earthenware pot containing water and poured water from it on his hands and washed them thrice. And then put his head in the earthenware pot and rinsed his mouth and washed his nose by putting water in it and then blowing it out thrice with 1 handful of water. He again put his hand in the water and took a handful of water and washed his face thrice. Then washed his hand up to the elbows twice, and took water with his hand and passed it over his head from front to back and then back to front. And then washed his feet up to the ankles and said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ performing ablution in that way. Narrated Thabit, Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, the Prophet ﷺ asked for water, and the tumbler with a broad base and nose so deep containing a small quantity of water was brought to him, whereby he put his fingers in it. Anas further said, notice the water springing out from amongst his fingers. Anas added, estimated that the people who performed ablution with its number between 70 to 80. Narrated Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet ﷺ used to take a bath with a 1 sa to 5 muds of water and used to perform ablution with 1 mud of water. Narrated Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Sa'd bin Abi Waqqas said, the Prophet ﷺ performed wet hand over his hoofs, socks made from thick fabric or leather. Abdullah bin Umar asked, Umar about it. Umar replied in the affirmative and added, whenever Saad narrates the Hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, there is no need to ask anyone else about it. Narrated al-Mughira bin Shu'bah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Once Allah's Apostle ﷺ went out to answer the call of nature, and I followed him with a tumbler containing water, and when he finished, I poured water and he performed ablution and passed wet hand over his hoofs, socks made from thick fabric or leather. Narrated Jafar bin Amr bin Umayyah ad-Damari. My father said, I saw Prophet ﷺ passing wet hands over his hoofs, socks made from thick fabric or leather. Narrated Jafar bin Amr. My father said, I saw the Prophet ﷺ passing wet hands over his turban and hoofs, socks made from thick fabric and leather.